Recently, I was on set with Ewaldt Verster. We were in an echoing room and I had to figure out which mic to use. You'll see the one aimed at him is not the one we went with, but we ended up talking about what it's like being a freelancer. And I thought I'm going to upload this clip, even though it's not of high quality, but there's something to learn. Ewaldt is a full-time freelancer now for 6 years. He's a photographer, he's a brand developer, he is a web developer as well as a designer. And I remember when I was studying economics 4 years ago, I had to make the choice of working for the Reserve Bank or going full-time freelance into my hobby and making it escalate. And I was scared, I did not know what to do. And I think there's a lot of people in the same situation. So I hope this video helps you. Well, not this video, this little clip helps you to make a leap of faith. And I hope to upload more clips like this in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments. Away from platforms, what do you think is the how would I say, most lucrative way for someone to enter a market, the creative market, or let's say content creation, which we do? I won't say we do art a lot. We're more on the servicing companies. Do you recommend going into photography, going into design? Because you're a jack of all trades. You do photography, you do e-commerce, you do web dev, you do video. What would you tell the typical 19 to 25-year-old what their next step should be? Because in my opinion, that is where all your investment should go. So I think when I absolutely love photography, and I remember in 2018 I decided I'm only doing video, and then that's where I base my lens purchases on, my camera purchases on, because if you just do, what would you say is the best thing for someone to go into now?
Just touching on your decision back in, I think it was 2018, 2017, really good. I mean, it paid off for you because you honed in on one skill, where I think a bit of a background is I burdened myself with basically everything. And at the start,
but that also makes you invaluable. Like when you immerse yourself in a brand and you leave, we've seen 2 companies completely beg you back every time because you're completely irreplaceable if you have all those skills.
It's a fun experience. I talk from a position of trying everything. So I kind of like stuck my toes into all the types of waters you could find, like branding, design, UI, UX, e-commerce, photography. And photography was kind of like this hobby, so that always developed with all of the other things. But I actually had an interesting conversation with an 18-year-old that's graduating from high school now, and she wanted to study exactly what I studied, and she had the same question. And it was quite cool to share the market insight with her. So 3 things that I believe would really develop over time. One is UI, UX in software. If you're passionate about apps, websites, how user experiences work, if you have a passion for design, that's a really good option, and I think it's going to become incredibly valuable. You will become a super valuable asset to any company out there if you choose to make that your course, but that's purely design. So, I mean, it's less creative and a bit more structural. The next thing is motion. So she's really strong in illustration. So she came to me with a point of illustration. So I told her, well, if you're able to take your illustration, animate, and then add motion to that, that's also going to remain one of the biggest markets from now on.
I fully agree, because it's also scalable. Like the harder you work, I would say the better the result get. Where with photography you get capped very quickly on a level, where if you have a good lens, you have a base of lighting, it's very difficult getting that like edge. Where with, I would say, if you do anything motion, if you put in the hours, you can really differentiate yourself.
Exactly.
But also, while we're talking, I'm actually thinking about it, especially for people starting. I have a tip basically to say, if your work isn't differentiated in the professional market, I would recommend immersing yourself in a brand, and by getting to know the people who works there, by knowing the brand, your production gets so much more efficient that you can give 3 times more value to the company, even though the quality is a bit less.
the quantity is a lot more because you understand the brand, you understand the owners, you know where they're going. Where if a new client approaches you, you're sometimes missing the mark by having your own agenda, having your own, basically having your own recipe that you apply on that project, and you miss their story. Where if your work isn't up there professionally, you can, by understanding the brand on a low quality and expressing them better, I think that is the way forward for young creators, basically in any realm. And that's it's basically a little tip that I have for young people, because especially young people, when they are driven, they tend to follow the big guys, the Sam Calders, the Jock Graffords, they wanna be the big guy, where you should actually just take a humble approach and serve someone instead of building yourself. And when you get that efficient, you'll see that your work suddenly also becomes a lot better, because people work a lot better with you. And so that's basically, I would say, I asked you what's your take, but I just gave my take now.
No, it's a good take. It's a good take. Right? I believe it pushes you into a place of versatility. So everyone has their own stamp of like uniqueness, I feel. So whether it's your editing style or the mood you go for, or the kind of content you create to differentiate yourself. But the thing about immersing yourself into a brand is you learn to be versatile, because a lot of the times you're going to place your personal stamp on things second, because you're going to prioritize their business goals, where they want to be, what the execution must look like. And I mean, that's how I learned. Like I immersed myself into a few brands when I just started out. And I must say, like, thank you to them, because they placed me in situations where I had to grow past my level of used to be doing things that were good in my eyes or added value in my eyes, to rather putting myself in a position on like, okay, how can I add value to what they need to grow into? And that pushed, I think it pushes any creative to just think outside of the box. But then also start to speak to the consumer rather than to speak to your own like.
Your own plan, basically. And that's basically how you need to like think if you want to. What we're doing is we're adding value. We're not building our own brands. We're making stuff to impact. You want to basically have impact theory. You want people buy stuff. You want people to change. If you're working for an NGO, for instance, you want them to understand the story. You have to be a bit more selfless, in my opinion. But that's also a complete different. There's a lot of lessons to learn when you work with a company. For instance, like I think we're very lucky at Quinn Rock having to work directly with the owners, Dennis and Julia, where they support us with ourselves. They value us as artists. When we have a suggestion, they fully back us. They make it happen. And sometimes you land with a different client. I think both of us have been there, where you have to learn those hard lessons, value yourself, and you're basically just making boundaries and knowing where to draw the line. But that's a whole different conversation. And we basically just did a sound test, and it's come to an end now. And thank you, guys. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching us talk what's on our minds. And
if you have questions, share it. I mean, we're still pretty new in the industry, but we'd love to share.
That's one of the curses in business, is the imposter syndrome, where you feel your comment isn't valuable enough. Where I think we're aging close to 30 now. Both are married. I think it's a time where you can start making a bit of comments, but in no way we're saying it's the best advice out there. But I highly recommend. I don't know. I don't want to say around that. At some point in your life, you have to say like, okay, I have something to give now, and you can just look at the fruits of the people that do learn around you, and I think it's like we can start giving advice as well.
Cheers.
Ek is laat.
Cool man. Ek dink dit was nou baie lekker actually. 18 minute.